This is a tale of a digger hailing from a small town in Russia. For those unfamiliar with the term, diggers are thrill-seeking individuals with a talent for exploring various underground structures. The vast and intricate urban dungeons provide fertile ground for these modern adventurers. Our protagonist, known as the Mole among his peers, set out one day to explore abandoned utilities in search of a golden bracelet. According to rumors, the trinket had been accidentally dropped into a storm drain by a careless student whose father was a wealthy businessman. Despite the bracelet remaining unfound for a significant period, the young diggers persevered, refusing to give up hope. Aside from its potential treasure trove, the dungeon was also fraught with deadly peril. A tragic incident had occurred when a young digger went missing there. Despite being warned against embarking on an underground excursion without proper experience and guidance, he ignored all advice. His parents and girlfriend wept bitterly at the sight of the rusted door covering the entrance to the seemingly endless utility tunnels. Sadly, he never returned. Many years have passed since that fateful day. The mole scoured a vast area but could only find corroded pennies and debris. He was on the verge of returning to the surface when he sensed an uninvited presence in the tunnel. A faint rustle echoed nearby, prompting the digger to illuminate the area with his flashlight and scan his surroundings. As he surveyed the space, a few rats and mice scurried past, and a blurry figure loomed in the distance. Upon closer inspection, human features could be discerned in the silhouette. The creature crouched over, devouring a rat it had captured. It then sniffed the air, as if on the hunt for a larger prey. Surprisingly, the creature paid no attention to the light at all. Its lack of reaction may have been attributed to the thick, shaggy hair that obscured its face and head. However, upon closer inspection, it became clear that the creature was entirely blind. Its eye sockets were disfigured, leaving it unable to see. Digger sensed a primal fear encroaching upon him. Realizing that shouting was futile, he opted for what he believed was the sole viable option: flee. After traversing the expansive tunnel, he encountered a tight passage that funneled into a ventilation shaft, providing him with an avenue to ascend to the surface and, subsequently, to safety. The ascent was arduous due to the narrow and slick walls, but Digger exerted himself as much as possible, pushing his limbs to the limit. The creature kept pace without faltering, relying solely on touch and intuition, yet exhibiting an impressive ability to ascend slick surfaces at a rapid pace. The mole sensed an impediment snag his leg, but he did not register any physical discomfort due to the overpowering terror he experienced. After the pursuer's head emerged from the pipe, the mole waited for an opportune moment and incapacitated it with a weighty trapdoor. Upon reaching the surface, Mole prioritized making his way to the infirmary. His throbbing leg injury caused him considerable discomfort, and the torn fabric of his trousers exposed a profusely bleeding wound. The medical personnel at the nurse's station confirmed that the digger had suffered a bite, and the attending physicians ascertained that the creature's teeth had penetrated his flesh all the way to the bone. After recuperating, Mole resolved to share his harrowing encounter with his loved ones and acquaintances. The revelation stirred up a fervent response within the digger's community, and news of the incident swiftly disseminated to all the city's relevant authorities, ranging from the police to the emergency services department. The rescue team that descended below ground level discovered the creature's lifeless body, bearing a fractured skull. Upon examining the remains, medical professionals arrived at a startling revelation. The creature was, in fact, human. Even more startling was the fact that the family members of a digger who had been missing for an extended period, summoned by law enforcement, identify him with difficulty. The identification was primarily based on tattered fragments of clothing that were once standard men's attire. Subsequently, a team of investigators had to descend underground. While scouring the utility tunnels, ventilation shafts, adits, and pipes, the detectives discovered a concealed cavity belonging to the enigmatic underground dweller. The stench emanating from the space was unbearable, and it was littered with dismembered mice and rats, along with the bones of small domesticated animals. According to the primary version of the investigation, a youthful and inexperienced digger strayed too far into the depths of the urban dungeon and became disoriented. Despite his best efforts to escape, misfortune befell him, and the digger encountered further difficulties. Whether it was an unfortunate fall or a landslide, he suffered a catastrophic injury, losing both of his eyes and his sight. With no hope of rescue, the digger crawled into the deserted utility lines, venturing too far from the standard routes frequented by underground tourists. Thus, he was faced with the daunting challenge of survival. Driven by the primal instinct to survive, the young man gradually developed a heightened sense of smell and acute hearing. He learned to hunt the small underground creatures that crossed his path. Although most of his prey consisted of rats, he also caught the occasional pet. Over the years of agony and deprivation, the boy gradually lost his human form and consciousness, devolving into a feral, unhinged subterranean predator. Fortuitously, the savage digger stumbled upon one of the primary communication tunnels, where he chanced upon a human for the first time in many years. However, he viewed the stranger he encountered as nothing more than a large quarry to pursue. The escaped mole digger was unquestionably fortunate. After his harrowing experience, Mole abandoned his previous occupation and took up a less hazardous hobby. For some time, the other diggers refrained from venturing deep beneath the city, but eventually they resumed their subterranean excursions. The story lingered in the memories of the city's inhabitants and was retold for years to come, gradually accumulating various macabre embellishments.